One thing Pfaff is known for is their decorative stitches. I mean, back even when I first started selling sewing machines, okay, that was a long time ago, Pfaff had the best decorative stitches. Plus, they were already 9 millimeters wide, which was nobody else had 9 millimeters wide stitches. And so with that, I've always had a love for decorative stitches, which was part of the inspiration for our Pfaff Stitching Cosmos online course. You can check out fun videos that you can watch for free. See if that course is right for you in that description below. And one of the things we talk about is a stitch book, because when you see the stitches on screen, they're okay. But if you stitch them out, you all of a sudden realize how cool some of these are. Some of them are ginormous. Some of them are very bold and stitch out heavy. Some are sideways motion stitches. And you really get an idea of how many stitches are in here. Now, I do remember doing this stitch book at a sewing retreat, and it was a 3-day sewing retreat, and this is actually, I sewed and sewed and sewed. And I do remember there was one time where I thought I was down to the end of the grouping, and then I scrolled more and more, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not even done with this whole menu, because I thought I was there, and then I forgot to go like that. So every group of stitches has multiple areas of stitches, and sometimes we forget about the ones that are way down here because we don't always look at all the stitches. We just go look at those, and then we look at those, but we have to remember there's lots at your fingertips that hide way down at the bottom. So if you do give your time to stitch this out, we do have videos on how to do a stitch book. So if you're interested in learning that, just search how to make a stitch book. It's one thing that we do recommend for the Stitching Cosmos course, because people are looking for unique stitches to put when they're using like the circular sewing attachment, or when they're using twin needle, that you can go, oh yeah, that's the stitch I want to use, or oh, that's the stitch. And you're not just sitting here going, I wonder if that stitch works, or I wonder if how that would look. It does take a lot of guesswork at it, plus it gets you more comfortable with your machine. One thing you do want to watch as you get through some of these decorative stitches that are bigger, or what are called maxi stitches, they're going to recommend a different foot. So keep an eye on your foot recommendation and switch as needed. You are going to need stabilizer behind your fabric for any decorative stitch that you're working with, and it will usually tell you to do that by that little symbol. Stabilizer is your friend. Not all stabilizer is created equal. I like to start with a tearaway, sometimes a little bit of a medium stabilizer, or even 2 layers of stabilizer will really help, especially when you get to some of these really big, dense patterns that you want to have them turn out perfect as you continue sewing and sewing and sewing. These are awesome. Take some time to sew them out, even if you just kind of work on like one little menu at a time. Trust me, even if you had half the stitches stitched out, you will know your machine even more than you realize. Now, the other thing that I do use when I'm doing stitching out decorative stitches, I do like to use the start-stop button, which is the same button you use when you embroider, and then that way you can just go ahead and push the button and let it stitch. If you do want to see what you're doing, select or purchase a clear open toe foot from your Pfaff store, and then you can really just sit back and watch the magic as you can see the stitch stitched out. That does have the dual feed. Of course, that is not recommended for all the stitches. It is more like your 1A foot, but is cut out in the front. So I do like using that quite a bit. When I get to the end of my row, I use the scissor button. And so it'll let that decorative stitch kind of finish. And so I'm not stopping like halfway through a stitch and making it look awkward. So you can sit, you can push the button to start, you can push the scissors to end, and then you pick your next stitch and keep going. So I hope you'll take the time to stitch out your stitch book. I love to see pictures of stitch books. So whatever works for you, try different threads, try variegated threads, try not on black fabric, try it on a white fabric. Denim is another color of fabric people really like to stitch on that also shows your decorative stitches really, really well. All right, have fun sewing some decorative stitches.